And that's where I started going really deep into the self-work. And that's when so many of my realizations and lessons happened, was in that isolation, where I wasn't saying I want a divorce. I was saying I'm going to take as much time as I need to figure out what I want. And this is about me. And so I really gave myself permission to just slow the process and find my own answers instead of what I used to do, which was just, let me do what you want so that you're not unhappy, so you're not disappointed. And I'll just abandon myself yet again for everybody else. I didn't do that. I wasn't able to do that. And that's where a lot of my transformation happened.
Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am just home from 4 unbelievable, incredible days with the most beautiful group of women ever. I am talking about, obviously, my Unbreakable retreat in Sedona that just wrapped up this past week. And oh my gosh, what can I say? It is a leap of faith when anyone goes on a retreat that's this level of work, right? It's a leap of faith. You don't know who these people are that you are going to be engaging in this work with. You don't know where you're going to be staying. You don't know where you're sleeping. In the case of my retreats, where I host them is not at a resort or spa. It's at a wellness, healing retreat center, and you're sharing rooms with people, and ew, weird. And everyone kind of has that feeling going into it, and they all leave with the most incredible radiance and depth of community and support. It is so magical and transformative. And I know that I talk a lot when I was promoting the retreat about the food, because Shell and Roxy, who are the chefs at the Ancient Springs Retreat Center, are truly magical. It's really beautiful to witness women being loved and nurtured in the way that Shell and Roxy provide love and nurturing through food. It's kind of indescribable. If you haven't experienced it, it may sound a little like, what are you talking about? It's food. It's not just food. And we did just some wonderful work. And the women, I believe, they say, are truly transformed. You know, we do this over the course of a few days so that it can really sink in, and they're transformed by the community that they build with each other. They're transformed by the work that they do. And I think Sedona is just a transformative place to do all of it. So I will be doing more retreats, and I will also be bringing you some of the words of wisdom and the testimonials of the women who were there, so that next time, if you were kind of on the fence and you were like, I don't know, is this something that I want to do? Is this sounds weird, I'm too shy or whatever. Maybe next time. This brings me to today's episode, The Selfish Woman. How selfish is it for you to choose yourself and go on a retreat for yourself? This is what we're talking about today with my friend Val Jones. We are having today a powerful conversation about redefining what it means to be selfish. Val has a new book coming out, The Selfish Year, The Power of Choosing Yourself. It's coming out in September. You should all pre-order it now. And she's the host of the Selfish Woman podcast. And in this conversation, Val shares the transformative experience of her own selfish year after leaving her emotionally abusive relationship. It's a great conversation. I hope that you get a lot out of it. We're talking about dating as a self-growth experiment. I always talk about that. How emotional safety shapes our experiences of sex and intimacy, and why centering ourselves is not only radical, but absolutely necessary. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Valerie Jones. Val Jones, thank you so much for coming back on the show. I'm so excited to talk to you about your new book.
Oh my gosh. So happy to be here, Kate.
We always have fun when we talk. I am super excited about this. I'm really excited about your new book, The Selfish Year. I mean, this is your jam, like redefining selfishness, but tell us about this book and what inspired you to write it.
As you know, my podcast is called The Selfish Woman, and I've been talking about reinventing the word selfish for women for a long time. And that podcast and this book was born out of my own experience in 2020. So I was married for the second time, and we were living in Spain as expats working online, which was externally amazing, looked very lovely on Instagram.
Right.
But internally, I was dying inside. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, which I didn't realize at the time that that's what it was. I just knew that I was fucking miserable, and I didn't know why. And I felt a lot of guilt about that.
Yeah.
I've been married 2 years. We got married in Rome, had this incredible, romance. I'm like, this time it's going to be different. And it was just a different type of shit, right?
Right.
And so January 2020 rolled around, and I have a group of friends. And at the beginning of every year, we get on Zoom wherever we are in the world, and we share our word for the year. And we talk about what we're going to manifest that year. And we talk about, what happened last year. And I'm preparing to get on this call with my friends. And I'm like, I don't fucking know what my word for 2020 is. Like, I'm just trying to get through the day. I can't see far, further than like the next day. I don't know. And as I was thinking about it, this word selfish kept coming up. And I was like, I can't choose that as my word for the year. Like, that's everything I was raised not to be, Be nice, be polite, be sweet. Don't be arrogant, don't brag, la, la, la. And so I had lived most of my life selfless. I thought that's what a good woman does. But it really hadn't worked out for me that well, being selfless. And so this word wouldn't leave me alone. And I was like, whatever. So I got on the call and I was like, I don't know. My word for the year is selfish. I have no idea what that means, but this is my word. And they were all like, cool, can't wait to see what's going to happen. And that launched me into my selfish year, which transformed my life on every single level. And so the book is partly about that, my story of my selfish year, and what I learned. And then I'm taking what I learned and giving it to you as strategies. So you can take that and apply it to your own life in whatever way that speaks to you.
That's so great. So what were some of the lessons that you actually did learn in this period of time?
Yeah. I mean, the big one was, in order to be selfish, truly meaning full of myself, I had to get to know myself.
Yes.
And I quickly realized I didn't fucking know who I was, because I was like, wait, if I'm going to make choices that are actually right for me, that come from an aligned place, that come from a connection to my true self, I have to get to know myself. And I'd never done that to the level that I realized I needed to in order to build a life that was on a foundation of alignment and authenticity and connection. And so my biggest lesson was, biggest lesson was, I don't fucking know who I am. And I better get to work on figuring that out.
Yes, I love that. I always say, people are like, how do you build self-esteem? And I'm like, self-knowledge. Yeah. Just like start with, because when you start with like, oh, I have to love myself, when you're coming from a place of I don't love myself, what are you even talking? Like you're like feeling against a brick wall for a door that doesn't exist, right? And when you pull it back and go, okay, wait, who even am I?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so
that's so powerful.
By the end of January of 2020, after I chose selfish as my word, I booked a one-way flight back to Canada because I knew I needed space. I wasn't necessarily leaving, but here's what I said to him. I said, I'm raising my standards, and this ain't it. You can raise your standards if you want to meet me somewhere new, somewhere better, but I'm raising my standards for myself, and I need space to figure out what that looks like. So I got on a flight and I came back to Canada and I hung out with my kids for a little bit. And that's when I realized I don't know who I am because nobody was making decisions for me anymore.
Oh,
I
yeah.
been, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I had been like letting other people make my decisions my whole life. How
Yeah.
convenient for me.
Sure, right? And then when suddenly it's just you
Mhm.
and you're like, "Oh, I have to decide what I want for dinner tonight and nobody is telling me what to eat tonight."
Mhm.
Shit.
Right? It's those small moments of like, whoa, I've been abandoning myself and I didn't even realize it. And there was a moment where my daughter asked me, she's like, so your Airbnb is running out like in a week. Where are you going next? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And I had
Mm.
that realization that like I couldn't make a decision to save my life. What is that about? I need to get curious about that.
So how did that process go for you? Like that getting curious. I mean the timing is interesting, right? Because
Mhm.
we also were on the brink of the world shutting down, right?
Yeah,
Which was such a profound moment, I think, for all of us to learn who we were when we really couldn't interact with the outside world. We really couldn't. There was so much forced solitude, for better or worse, right? And so, did you find that at that juncture was as sort of profound as I'm making it up to be?
for sure. I mean, you said forced solitude.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I left where I was visiting with my kids, and then I was like, you know what? What's my next selfish thing? I always had wanted to live in a cabin for, a while on my own, and I never did it because that's selfish.
Right,
I
right.
was
You
like,
can't.
okay,
Well, and like we're also let's also put this in the perspective of your kids by this point were grown.
yes,
You actually had space that you hadn't had before because we don't
that's right.
look, we all want to run off and live in a fucking cabin by ourselves when our kids are young. But
Yeah,
like, right now they're older, we actually can. Then you actually, it's like, oh, wait, because for so many years it's, well, I can't.
that's
Well,
right.
now it's like, oh, I can. Oh, I can. Huh.
Uh-huh. Will I?
So will I?
Yeah, so
Oh,
I was
yeah.
an empty nester. My kids were all moved out, like you said, so I had time and space. But this is what I love about how the book is structured is I go and live in a cabin for a month. I was able to do that. But when I give you the strategies to take what I learned for that month into your life, it doesn't matter what type of stage of life you're in. You can take those strategies and do it right now, even with three kids at home or whatever's going on. So it's kind of
Right.
like I see my life as an experiment. Like, let's do this weird thing and then see what happens. And then I take those lessons and I give them to you in a way that works for you.
I love that. That's so great, right? Because I think that's a really important thing that it's like, no, you don't have to wait till you're an empty nester and that
Oh,
you can go and you don't have to wait until you have the money to rent a cabin in the woods and go live this, in solitude. We don't need to do that. There are lessons to be learned that you
yes.
you already metabolized it and now you're sort of spitting it out in a way that's really a gross
Right.
metaphor.
But it works. It works.
It works, whatever.
Spitting them out to you.
It's like the
In,
baby birds that are pecking on right,
let me give
the
you
moms. Yeah, they
the
give the
titleized
throw up
version.
in your mouth. Right.
Exactly, exactly. And so this whole year was like that for me of this intense solitude, like you said. When I left that cabin, I came into a different world. The borders had closed and I couldn't go back to Spain if I wanted to. And my husband was stuck over there. And I was like, oh, universe, you're so cute because now I'm forced to spend the rest of the year alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly rented a place to live in. And
Mm.
and that's where I started going really deep into the self work. And that's when so many of my realizations and lessons happened was in that isolation where
Yep.
I wasn't saying I want a divorce. I was saying I'm going to take as much time as I need to figure out what I want. And this is about me. And so I really gave myself permission to just slow the process and find my own answers instead of what I used to do, which was just, let me do what you want so that you're not unhappy, so you're not disappointed. And I'll just abandon myself yet again for everybody else. I didn't do that. I wasn't able to do that. And that's where a lot of my transformation happened.
Yeah. So, you talk about being a recovering people pleaser, which
Mhm.
is really what that is, right? Like, I'll do what you want. Like, I don't know. I don't need to know what kind of food I like because let's see, what do you want? Right. Or, that's the basic, version of it. But we do that with our whole lives. How did you recover from that? This was part of that recovery from people pleasing, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, how does that manifest for you now and in the
Mhm.
lessons that you teach in the book?
So yes, I call myself a recovering people pleaser, and most of my life was spent, as I said, like just making everybody else happy and being miserable. And so for this selfish experiment that I was doing, I had to really take everything I'd already learned and done and the work I'd already done on myself, which is
Hmm.
at least a decade of
Right.
self-work.
Right. It's
We're deep,
tremendous. Yeah. Yeah. Then
yeah.
you're like, oh shit, there's more.
Oh, shit, there's more deeper layers, right? But those deeper layers were as I spent more time alone with myself, I really was challenged to understand why I kept doing that pattern, why I kept abandoning myself for everybody else, and then what does it look like to not abandon myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that had to translate into action, whether it's, I'm going to write this scary email to my husband and say, here's what I need from you in order to make this relationship work.
Mm-hmm.
Or simple things like going for a walk every day, even if I didn't feel like it, learning how to follow through on my commitments to myself. Oh, that's
Yes.
new. Those kind of things, like starting a meditation practice, starting a journaling practice, getting outside every day, things that are more of the smaller stuff that were so huge over the course of a year of learning how to be selfish and how to commit to the things that I knew I needed when it was so easy to abandon that previously
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
was so used to just saying like, well, I'll just give that up for you. I'll give that up for what you want. And now I'm resentful at you and I'm blaming you when really it was me
That's
doing
right.
something wrong.
Right. Yes. I love the idea of selfishness turning you into actually learning how to take personal responsibility.
Yes, exactly. And that's the
Right.
exciting thing because when we put ourselves first, what happens is, and what happened for me is, I had to start taking radical responsibility of like, oh, I can't blame anybody else for where I'm at. And if I'm actually going to love myself and put myself first, I have to also own my shit
Right.
to a deeper level that I never had before.
Exactly. So profound. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, I want to talk about the fact that you have been divorced twice and what that has sort of given you, what your, the perspective that that's given you on, healing and recovery, because I know that's going to be a big one for my audience. So we'll be right back. Okay, guys, I have to tell you about something that has seriously made my life easier. Wild Pastures. So I've been ordering from them for the last few months, and I love having high quality pasture raised meat right in my freezer, ready to go whenever I need it. No last minute grocery runs, no sketchy labels, just clean, delicious meat I can trust. If you're anything like me, short on time, but still want to cook real healthy meals, this is a game changer. Their 100% grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken and pork, and wild-caught seafood are all delivered straight to your door, so you always have something fresh to defrost and cook without a ton of hassle. And the best part? It's affordable. They cut out the middleman so that you get top quality meat at the lowest prices. So if you want to eat better without making life harder, check out Wild Pastures. Go to kateanthony.com/wildpastures for $20 off your first subscription. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure about your next step in the divorce process? You don't have to do this alone, my love. If you're listening to this podcast, you already know that I am a pioneer in the divorce coaching industry, and that for over a decade, I've helped hundreds of women navigate some of the toughest decisions of their lives. Until recently, I only worked with clients in a long-term private capacity. But I know that not everyone needs or has the ability to commit to long-term coaching. Sometimes you just need clear, focused strategies to move forward. That's why I now offer targeted 3-session strategy packages designed to give you the clarity, direction, and confidence you need without the long-term commitment. Whether you're deciding whether to stay or go, uncovering and healing from abuse, or dealing with a high-conflict divorce, I will help you create a clear roadmap, develop a plan to work with your attorney, saving you time and money, and help you navigate difficult conversations with ease. All coaching is done on Zoom, so no matter where you are, we can work together. No consultation call is needed. Just fill out a quick questionnaire and I'll get you all set up. Head on over to kateanthony.com/strategy and take the first step toward a stronger, more empowered future today. That's kateanthony.com/strategy. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay, we are back. And before the break, we were talking about how when you put yourself first and when you become selfish, it also leads to radical personal responsibility and taking responsibility for how you actually got here. And so I want to talk about how that has manifested, how that ended up manifesting for your second marriage. You've been divorced twice now. And so what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned, which I assume came from this radical responsibility for yourself?
Yeah. My first marriage was 24 years, 3 kids. I was a stay-at-home mom, got married at 20. So I was a baby when I got married. What I didn't realize is my husband was bipolar. That came out later in the relationship. Alcoholic, that came later in the relationship. And a narcissist, like a classic narcissist, which also was identified later in the relationship. So it was just a bit of a shit show for 24 years of moving 30 times and,
30?
Yeah, 30 times in 24 years.
Val, what? Oh
Yeah.
my God, I don't even know how you do that.
I don't know. How do we do these things? But that was me sort of just tagging along with somebody and going, okay, if that's what you think is best, okay, I'll, pack up the kids and do all the work and let's go again. And really abandoning myself in every area. And that dynamic we had was so toxic. And so the ending of that marriage really catapulted me into a place of, I've got to figure my shit out. And again, realizing that as much as he had his issues, I did too. And there was a reason why we were together. I was a total people pleaser, empath, and didn't know how to stand up for myself. And so after that marriage, that's when I became a coach and I did all this work on myself and a lot of healing and therapy. And so when I met my second husband, I was like, I'm good to go. Even my therapist was like, go ahead and date. You're so ready. And I was really kind of arrogant. I was like, this is never going to happen to me again. I'm so good now. And when I realized, wait a second, this is just same shit, different person. I had to take that responsibility of this is not about them. This is about me. And if I don't work on that, it's just going to repeat my entire life.
Over and over and over and over again.
And so being selfish, the selfish experiment was really my way of trying to save my own life because I was so miserable and unhappy inside of myself. And I didn't know everything I was trying wasn't working. And I didn't know what to do except to do something radical.
And so coming out of that, have you dipped your toe back into dating and relationships? And how does it feel different for you this time?
I came out of my divorce. We ended up at the end of 2020, my selfish year. I said, I'm ready to get a divorce. And we were both very loving and kind about it. It was a great way to separate. Very respectful.
Mhm.
And then after my selfish year, what I realized, and this is a big point in my book, the 2020 year for me, the selfish year, was the deep work on myself.
Mhm.
That is a lot of the unsexy behind the scenes work. 2021, the year after, was when I started seeing my reality change. I started seeing my life shift to reflect the new person I was. Lost
Mm.
55 pounds. I moved to a new city. My business totally exploded. All of these things started happening. I started getting so happy. And like now I'm one of those people I used to make fun of who's like so positive and happy. Right?
Yeah.
I just started, and people were like, you look different, you're
Yeah.
glowing. Like that was all after that whole year of work. And then in 2021, I was like, well, what's my next experiment? Why not dating?
Uh-huh. Right.
Because I really hadn't dated. I'd been in two relationships and hardly
Right.
ever dated outside of that. Like I said, I got married at 20. And so I was like,
Oy.
let's see what dating's like as this new version of myself. And so again, I saw it as an experiment. And this will be one of my next books, The
Right.
Selfish
Sure.
of Dating, because I spent a year experimenting with dating as a self-growth experiment. And this is what I love. This is when I talk to women about this, they're like, ooh, okay, let's decenter men here. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and let's be
Uh-huh.
selfish when we're dating.
That's right.
See it as a self-growth experiment. So I like went on all these dates, and my whole point was I want to learn about myself. So I would go on dates, I'd go to a session with my coach, and I'd be like, here's what happened. What am I learning about myself? And one of the
Mhm.
things I wanted to experience was rejection because I'd never been dumped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'd never been dumped. I mean, I ended both
Ew.
marriages.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like,
Mhm.
I want to experience what it's like. And
Mhm.
guess what? Everyone I dated that year dumped me.
Oh my God. That's
I
so
was like,
great.
okay, be careful what you ask for. But it was so great because I would go back to my therapist or I'd meet with my coach after. And what I realized was it's not that big a deal.
Right.
Like, I can handle it.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I learned a lot that year. And I met some great people. And I learned a lot about me and what my patterns are. Because again, my patterns would show up.
Sure. Right. I had a therapist who used to say to me, we're all like when I was in my year of like, healing after my divorce. And I was like, I don't know, like if I should date or shouldn't date or whatever. And she's like, look, we're all good on our own, right? It's when you get into a relationship that this shit starts to come up. So the important thing is to actually do the work when it's in your face. And so she's like, you could spend the rest of your life single and you'd be 100% fine, but it's the relationship's the real test, right? And so I would date and I would spend all of my time being like, I don't know, does he like me? I mean, I feel like he might like me. And then I'm like dissecting, like again, like center on him and his experience and how he feels about me and am I enough
Mhm.
and yada yada. And like she said to me, you spend so much time taking their temperature, trying to figure out if they like you. Do you like him?
Mm.
Like, do you even like him? And I was
Mhm.
like, no. Oh my God, I don't like him.
Exactly.
Right. And then
And
it was like taking the idea of taking my own temperature was so radical. And I love what you said. It's decentralizing men in the experience.
yeah.
Like, if you're going into this, I think that dating is one of the most revealing experiences we can do about ourselves. And if we go into it with that mindset, we're going to learn
Mhm.
a shit ton about ourselves.
Mhm.
But if we're
And
always focused on like finding the next partner, the one, the blah, 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 like we're screwed.
exactly. And that's one of the big things I learned through the dating experiment was just what you said, which is I've been centering men my whole life. And so when I'm dating, I'm so concerned about whether they like me or not, which creates anxiety. And then I'm not showing up in my power. And one of the things I really learned was just what you said, which is check in with myself. Does
Mhm.
this feel good or does this feel bad? And it's one of the most simple questions to ask ourselves. But as a recovering people pleaser, you are taught not to ask yourself that question. You are taught to not care about how you feel. You are taught to care about how everybody else feels.
Mhm.
And It's a radical question to ask ourselves. Does this feel good or does this feel bad? And allow that to be your GPS. Allow that to show you yes or no. And when I learned how to ask myself that and tune into my body,
Mm,
started realizing that, man, I had been ignoring all these signals that my body was trying to tell me my whole life.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And dating helped me really learn how to tune into that for myself. So it was great. And now I'm like happily single right now. I'm in like a really great single stage and I'm just doing me, focus on my career. I'm living, like in this vibrant city and, I'm focused on my girlfriends. And so, it's just different stages. But again, being selfish allows me to know, what do I need right now? What do
Right.
I want right now? And then give it to myself. Why is that such a radical thing? I don't know, but it really is.
No, it's beautiful. It is. Right. It shouldn't be radical, but for women, it is. Right. By the way, P.S. FYI, men have been doing this since the dawn of time.
I know.
And when we do it, it's negative connotation selfish. When we do it, like it's this radical thing. But like, hello, what the fuck have they been doing since literally the dawn of time?
I
Right.
know. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I believe women need to learn how to be selfish and men need to learn how to be more selfless.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that
Abs.
that's what I observe.
I think, no, I think it's absolutely right. And I like what you were saying about sort of checking in with yourself, right? Like checking in with your body because there are all of these clues along the way. But when we're so focused on other people, we're not mindful of our own somatic experiences. And they're telling us things. Like our body's telling us shit.
All the time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that my second marriage was emotionally abusive,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew in my body that this
Yeah.
didn't feel safe.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't realize till I left and I came back to Canada and I spent that year alone. I started to realize what was really going on. And I work with a lot of women who are experiencing emotional abuse. And when you're in it, it's so foggy and unclear because you're being
Mm-hmm.
gaslit and, all of the stuff that's going on. And myself
Yeah.
included, I didn't realize what was going on until I got out and I had space to have clarity. And that was a huge part of my journey, was learning and realizing how I'd gotten in that situation and what was really going on and how to get myself out. And that requires a lot of building trust with yourself, learning how to listen to your body, learning how to like respect yourself, respect what you believe. Like, this doesn't feel right. Something is off.
Yep.
And
Yep.
instead of
Yep.
overriding it and going, oh, well, it must be me, I'm crazy or whatever, it's like, no, no, no. What's going on? What's the truth?
Right. Yeah. And I think, you and I were in similar, mine was much earlier. When you don't have language for it and you're not surrounded by conversations around it. In 2020, we were just starting to talk about this stuff. You and I both were just starting to like understand and talk through it. But when I was going through my divorce, it was 2009. I
Yeah.
had no language for it. There was no Instagram. There were no podcasts. There was no information about what was happening to me. I just thought it was me, because he told me it was me. And so, right, I was bending myself into all of those pretzels. But, when you start becoming aware, when you start connecting with yourself, and when we give women permission, as we do, to actually drop in, hear the voice inside, feel the physical manifestations of the discomfort, the rage, the abuse, whatever it is, right? And then we can help people name it, right? It's so powerful. It's hard, right?
Mhm.
That is not a mirror any of us want to look in. It's so important, but for so long we didn't have access to the information. And so the gaslighting was everything, right? It just
Yes,
kept us so blind and under their thumb.
100%. I'm on TikTok a lot and I talk about emotional abuse a lot on TikTok. And I have found since 2021, when I started talking about emotional abuse, The amount of comments and response I get from women who are saying like, "Oh my gosh, like yeah, I'm just learning about this. I'm just realizing this is what I'm experiencing. You're putting a name to it. You're describing it. It's so validating."
Yep, absolutely.
We are getting knowledge. We are becoming educated. We are becoming savvy about what's happening in our own relationships and learning how to say no more. And that is so exciting to me because number one, I lived it, but now to see other women doing the same thing and understanding what's going on in their relationship and being able to have that knowledge to say, this is not okay.
Right.
I know what this is. And when you know, when you can see the emotional abuse cycle, the jig is up. Like, you see the Wizard of Oz and you realize it's just some little dude behind a curtain
Right.
pulling levers.
And it takes away all their power, which is why they're getting so angry and loud and, grasping for power right now because really, yeah, the jig is up and we're calling them on it and they're losing their absolute fucking minds about it. And it's like, what do they have now? They have Andrew Tate and like Jordan Peterson. Like, I am so sorry,
It's
but
sad. It's sad.
right?
And,
That's not it.
the videos that actually probably go viral the most on my TikTok are when I talk about why women lose interest in the bedroom.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Why
the
is
men
that?
hate that.
Oh, right. It's not because you guys are terrible in bed. I mean,
No,
literally, cis het men are terrible in bed. Generally speaking, if any of you are listening and you're like, yes.
Yeah. And
Because again, we've centered the male experience for so long.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They haven't had to really do that much work because it's been about them and their pleasure. And now women are saying, actually, no.
Actually, by the way, I have a huge capacity for pleasure, and it's going to take a lot of work on your part to figure out how it works because it's different.
Right. Right. And if there isn't emotional safety, why would I want to have sex with you anyways?
That's right.
And that's the big part that men hate when I talk about. It's like women need emotional safety in order to feel open. And if they're not getting that, they're not going to, this is why they don't want to have sex with you.
That's right.
They are so mad about that.
They're so mad about it. And I always say the same thing, right? That men are like, well, if you want emotional, intimacy, you have to have sex with me. And we're like, no, if you want sex, make me feel safe. I am the one inviting you literally inside my body.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the empathy to be able to put yourself in the position of understanding and honoring and respecting and like really, really holding the level of vulnerability that is for a woman, you have zero place inside of me. There's absolutely not going to happen.
Exactly. And see, now that is the epitome of being a selfish woman. To have the courage to say, this is what I need.
That's right.
In order to feel safe or comfortable with you. And if you can't offer me that, I'm not available. Hello. Amazing.
Radical. But also like everyone listening, that's exactly the way it should be.
Yes.
Exactly. And by the way, when you find someone who actually can hold that, as I have recently done, the sex is unfucking believable.
I love that.
Off the charts. Yeah, I love it too. I'm like, oh, wait.
This is what I was missing.
Well, shit. Right? Because he centers me in the experience. 100%.
Right. Wow. Wowzers.
Yeah. Fucking radical.
I mean, when I dated for a year, my dating experiment, I realized what you said, which is men are terrible in bed. And they're so surprised when I tell them that. They're so confused. Like, wait.
You tell them? You're like,
I'm like, this is not it. And they're so confused. Like, wait, all women aren't the same? It's not just like plug and play?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No,
dude.
No. I had a guy who literally said to me, this was like a couple years ago, he literally said to me, well, just get on top and do what you need to do to get off. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, well, first of all, it doesn't work that way for me. So no. And then when I did, because I was like, well, nothing else is going to happen here. He literally lay there like a wet fish. And I was like, I like, there's nothing about this that is getting me off.
Right. I'm dry as the
Ugh.
Sahara.
Dry as the Sahara. Yeah. Yeah.
But also, like, when I talked about I was rejected, everybody I dated rejected. Interesting. Is that because I actually spoke the truth
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
didn't placate your ego? You
Yes.
know?
That's exactly why.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Enlightening.
Yeah. Yes. Center the female experience. And,
Yeah. And
you,
it starts, it starts with centering ourselves
that's right.
and being selfish, being full of ourselves. Because if you're not full of yourself, what are you full of?
Shit.
Shit, shame, guilt,
Yeah.
anxiety, worry, stress,
Yes.
people pleasing, perfectionism, control.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff has to be excavated away to be able to get to the true self.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the selfishness that women need. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's changed my life on every level. I love giving to other people now. I'm not resentful about, oh, let me help you or whatever, because I'm giving from overflow. I'm giving from abundance. And therefore, I love giving. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, like, I'm not going to help anybody. I'm not going to, no. We're still allowed to be abundant, joyful givers to our people, to our society, to whomever. But when
Yeah.
you do it from a place of selfishness, your tank is full.
That's
And
right.
now you get to give from the overflow. What a difference than giving from exhaustion, overwhelm, resentment, and fumes, because we haven't filling
Yes.
our own tank. Like, that's the other benefit.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love that. And the thing is that, I spent 8 years single for
Mhm.
just this reason that I was like, once I got to that place of like my tank was full and I was good, I was like, the only person that is coming into my life is someone who's going to add value to it.
Mhm.
Because there is nothing about me that needs completing, that needs somebody else to do for me, nothing. And
Yeah.
so I became so discerning. And my ex-husband was like, I feel like you've become like really avoidant. And I'm like, no, I just have standards.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you become really good at you're okay alone, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're good single. I was good
Yeah.
single for 8 years.
Right.
Not without moments of like, I fucking want to find my person,
Sure.
but it's worth the wait.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. When you give yourself what you need and you create a life for you that is amazing, then when you think of bringing someone into your life, it's like, great, what do you have to offer me that's more than what I already have for myself?
Right.
I don't need you.
That's
You're
right.
not coming from a place of need. You're coming from a place of like, ooh, do I like hanging out with this person? Do I want this? Awesome. That's the abundance that comes from spending all that time cultivating your relationship with yourself. And I know a
Yep.
lot of women say to me, I'm afraid to get a divorce because I'm afraid to be
To be
lonely,
lonely. Mm-hmm.
afraid of being alone. And what I always say is that lonely feeling is your friend, because there's so much information. When you just sit with it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to like run away from it, when you sit with that feeling of being lonely, there's so much information there. It really is a gift. And I give you lots of strategies in the book
Mm-hmm.
about how to work with loneliness, how to work with your fear. And instead of like resisting it, because we know what we resist persists, instead of
Mm-hmm.
resisting fear and loneliness and all of these things that keep you tolerating shit that you know you deserve more than that, instead of that, let's embrace it. Let's learn from it. Befriend loneliness, befriend your fear, and find a way to use it to your advantage and find the lessons, then you're free. And that's one big thing that I give you strategies about, is how to do that. Wherever you are in your life, we can do that work and it will set you free.
I love it. I love it. Congratulations, Val. So tell everybody where they can find your book. It's available for pre-order now. So where can everyone pre-order it, and when will they get it in their hands?
Yes. So it's called The Selfish Year, The Power of Putting Yourself First. And you can find it on pre-order on Amazon. You can go to my website, valeriejonescoach.com. Either of those places, you can pre-order it, and it'll be coming out in September, first weekend of September. So great time to get your book, great time to give it as a gift. And I can't wait for all the fun things that are going to be, focused around launching this book. So bring it into the world.
I love it. Congratulations, hon. I'm so, so excited for you. And I'm excited mostly for all of the women who are going to read this book and gain these incredible insights and learn these beautiful lessons.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.